trades! We've got trades! Ryan Johnson is pulling off the trigger! Nils Hoglander, bye-bye! Brendan Gallagher, welcome to Vancouver! Now, let me just do something really quick here while we are live on air because we got 2 Vancouver Canucks trades to dive into. Let us change the upload date of this video to, 11 a.m. just so we're safe. We will do that, and then we'll go over onto the shorts. We'll take a look at this, and then we'll move this over to 11:30 as well, just so we don't have any scheduled video conflicts on display. And finally, we will go to the scheduled tweets, and we will move this over to 11 as well. Maybe we'll do some more updates. I'm just doing this so I have time to make this video because the Vancouver Canucks have pulled off 2 trades. Goodbye, Nils Hoglander. He's going over to the Nashville Predators in exchange for a 2029 third-round draft pick. And hello, Brendan Gallagher. The Vancouver Canucks have acquired Brendan Gallagher and 50% of his contract. That's it. The Montreal Canadiens have sent Gallagher 50% retained for future considerations. The Montreal Canadiens were not going to get anything in exchange for Galley. They're not going to have to give up anything to get Galley off of this team. There were many folks, like myself, that were wondering, hey, is Brendan Gallagher going to come to Vancouver along with an asset? Are the Montreal Canadiens going to have to pay a first-round pick to get rid of Gallagher? No, maybe that was a little bit too extreme to think about. Montreal, they just send Gallagher over with 6.5 divided by 2, so $3.25 million retained on a contract that goes till the end of the season. It's essentially a non-buyoutable deal because you're only going to pay it for 1 more year. I don't see any reason for the Vancouver Canucks to go out there and do that. But Brendan Gallagher is coming in as the winger-on-winger replacement for Nils Hoglander, a new Nashville Predator, and a guy that unfortunately just didn't really get the best opportunity to thrive in Vancouver, especially in the last 12 months or so. The Canucks are getting a 2029 third-round pick for Hoglander, which, when you think about it, is bad value. Hoglander was acquired for the 40th overall pick in 2019, so this entire experiment was just a 10-year way to move down a few rounds. I mean, that's not great, isn't it? Hoglander is quite famous for being the best Vancouver Canucks draftee out of the 2019 NHL Entry Draft, and I say that only because Vasily Podkolzin didn't really do much with the Canucks before getting sent over to Edmonton, but this was the last maybe kind of okay draft class for Vancouver before we saw the later on draft, the 2023 draft, I'm pretty sure it was, out of Vancouver. But either way, you did see yourselves a number of names. Yeah, there you go, 2023, Tom Willander and all those dudes. Elias Pettersson and his draft comes to mind as well as being fine. But Hoglander and Podkolzin were at the top of the 2019 draft. Now both of these guys are gone. Hoglander for a third-round pick, Podkolzin for a fourth-round pick. Just kind of letting these draft picks fizzle away from the organization. And for Nils Hoglander, this is a guy who went from a legitimately good even-strength goal scorer in 23-24, 36 points in 80 games played in that crazy PDO Bender Tocchet year, to 25 points in 72 games the year after that, and 5 points in 38 games this most previous season. I'd like to say that Nils Hoglander still has what it takes to be a 24, 25-goal guy at the National Hockey League level, but it's not going to come with the minutes that Hoglander was getting under Adam Foote and co. this most previous campaign. You see 5 points in 38 games and you think, man, this guy sucks. But then you look at it, it's like he was getting like 6-7 minutes a game some nights. It wasn't really all too great, and the Canucks were not great either. Nils Hoglander was just not somebody who moved the needle on the worst team in the NHL. And that is a pretty bad indictment against him. He signed on to the end of 2028, making $3 million a year. The Nashville Predators are trying to change up their franchise. Chris McFarlane is in the mix, and he is trying to bolster this team. There's a certain kind of attitude to the guys that he is acquiring, from Ross Colton over to Nils Hoglander. There are these guys that play with energy, they have some grit. Hoglander has that. There were elements that he had in his draft-eligible game that stood out as really physically aggressive traits. He was getting suspended in the Swedish league for elbowing guys to the head. He is that type of dog in him, and he can score Michigan goals too, a skill that he unfortunately did not display with the Vancouver Canucks in any capacity, if I'm being real. It's quite disappointing, because we know he can do it, he just never tried. Anyways, Nils Hoglander was a friend of Elias Pettersson's. He's going over to Nashville for a third-round pick. That's it. It's a third-round pick, not even next year. It's in 2029. So, getting some value, sure, but hey, you're giving a guy a change of scenery. That seems to be the biggest element to this trade, and that's the biggest element to the Brendan Gallagher trade as well. Future considerations to Montreal. Gallagher over to Vancouver is confirmed, or at least not by the teams. It's being confirmed by all the insiders over here. If you take a look at it, the Vancouver Canucks are saving the Montreal Canadiens a bit of cash, because a buyout of Gallagher would cost 2/3 of his salary instead of just paying half of it. This is good work by the Canucks, who can now flip Gallagher at the deadline if he plays decently at 25% of his salary if they retain. Gallagher, 6.5, $3.25 million, coming over to the Canucks this previous season. He had 23 points in 77 games, 7 goals, 16 assists, plus the one really exciting playoff goal in his first game against Tampa Bay. Just last year, in 24-25, Gallagher had 38 points and 21 goals in 82 games. There is hope, I'd say, from some Canucks fans that Gallagher could potentially turn things around and get back up to 30-plus points in a year. Although, as a dual Canucks and Canadiens fan, I unfortunately don't know if that's really the case here, especially on the Vancouver Canucks. Brendan Gallagher's really lost a step over the past 12 months or so, and that's not surprising. We always knew that this guy in his game, the physical edge that he plays with, the aggressiveness, the assertiveness, the tenacity, it was never going to last. He's 34 years old, for crying out loud. And that $6.5 million contract, we always knew that it was going to hold the Canadiens back at some point. Back when it was signed in 2021, we knew this guy was not going to be this effective and not that deserving of the money forever. And heck, you can say that from a leadership perspective, from a perspective of him being a through and through Montreal Canadien who battled it out throughout the 2010s, who established himself as a 30-plus goal scorer, who was one of the most important and valuable heart and soul players on the team whilst producing points. When you look at it from that angle, it's like, well, Brendan Gallagher, he's going to be making $6.5 million a year for the next 6 years because he just earned it. It's not because he's going to be worth that amount of money the entire course of the contract. It's because this is a guy who put his blood, sweat, and tears on the line to earn that contract. And Canadiens fans love Gallagher for it. He was just given, the honor that he was given a few days ago? One of the only Montreal Canadiens players to have been given this sort of honor. Let me just Google it right here. Okay, it's all about the trade. Here it is. Honorary citizen by the city of Montreal. He's the first hockey player to receive the title. That's crazy. You look at the list of people who have been named an honorary citizen by the Montreal city, I guess. You've got a whole bunch of politicians and famous people and, legitimately notable names in the history of the city. Brendan Gallagher is the first hockey player. You're not talking about Maurice Richard or Jean Beliveau or anybody else. It's Brendan Gallagher. crazy these days, what they're coming up with. But anyways, the Vancouver Canucks have acquired Gallagher, 50% salary retained for nothing. Montreal trades him away. Goodbye, Gally. You were an amazing hab. He's going to be an even better culture setter for the Vancouver Canucks. Goodbye, Nils Hoglander. He's going over to Nashville. Big reclamation project here on the hands of Chris MacFarlane. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The Vancouver Canucks have made 2 trades. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.